Okay, so this is part two of the fight that worried me for Edgar Berlanga. All right, so the first fight, obviously, we discussed was Christopher Salerno, which was his fourth professional fight, and Edgar got rocked in the first round, and he looked like he could go down, but he definitely got the jelly leg after he got hit. Now, this other fight was the fight that David Benavidez was referring to. It's a fight in 2015 versus a guy named Chyrie Anderson. Now, this kid, Chyrie Anderson, did an interview, and he seems like a really good kid. He even says that he's a fan of Edgar, which lends more credence to his argument, because if he was to just come out and criticize Edgar, then you wonder what his motivation is. But when he criticizes him, but simultaneously claims to be a fan, then that tells you that he's coming from more of a pure place. And what Chyrie says, first of all, if you watch the fight, it's weird because although it was 2015, which is, I guess, 6 years ago now, Edgar doesn't appear to be fighting much different than he is now. The only difference, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that fight was at 178, and Edgar currently fights at 168. An incredibly important aspect when it comes to fighting, because I always say it, 5 or 10 pounds can definitely affect the trajectory of your career. You can even look at it in terms of, and it's happened to so many people, whether it's Roy Jones, Felix Trinidad, Shane Mosley. At 140, you would have never found another fighter who could beat Shane Mosley, but he went up to 147. Guys were longer, guys were more lanky. Most recently, you saw it with Lomachenko when he fought Teofimo Lopez. 5 pounds lighter, and I don't believe anybody would be able to beat Lomachenko in this point in his career. But those 5 pounds, I'm sorry, did I say points? Those 5 pounds make a huge difference in terms of guys being bigger and a lot stronger, and fighters underestimate it. They figure, oh, I'm not gonna adjust my diet, I'm gonna continue to eat. But it just, in the end, you end up paying the price. And so if Edgar was fighting at 178, maybe that's why his power wasn't as assertive at that weight class as it is at 168. Who knows? Because people are also claiming that he wasn't really knocking guys down in general before he turned pro. There was something about when he turned pro that he started just knocking guys out. So who knows? Maybe the competition was better when he was an amateur, and he's just been fighting a lot of tomato cans, so. But anyway, the kid Chyrie Anderson, which again seems to be a good kid, he says that Edgar is an intimidating kid inside the ring, and he was somewhat intimidated by him, but that if you challenge him and you step to him, that you can break his confidence. All right, and if you watch the fight, and you can see the clips there in the background, he hurt him bad. That was a bad fall, and he did not have his senses about him when he got up, and he's lucky. I don't know if that was just a 3-round fight. If it would have gone another round, he would have very likely been knocked out altogether, which, who knows, may have changed the trajectory of his career altogether. But so those two fights, the fight with Chyrie Anderson and Christopher Salerno, are definitely a cause of concern for any impartial observer. Now, if you're going to be one of these guys that are just going to say, no, he's going to do great, and you just can't be a blind supporter. I'm very big on being impartial and trying to put your biases aside. And like I said, I'm Puerto Rican, so I root for the kid. I would love few things more than to see him accomplish all of his lofty aspirations. But the reality is that I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Is it possible that he continues here and he fights Gabe Rosado, and then after that maybe Caleb Truax, and then maybe Daniel Jacobs, and then from there maybe, who knows, Caleb Plant or Canelo, whatever, and he continues and retires undefeated? Sure, all of that is possible, right? But when you start to research and you start to look at things impartially, you can get a better sort of perspective of the reality or the possibility of those things happening. I remember a time in boxing when you didn't think anybody could be undefeated. And look now, we have Mayweather, we have Andre Ward, and so it's possible, especially the way people put business first now and don't want to take those big challenges. But we'll see. Only time will tell. In the meantime, what we can say is that we have a very exciting prospect in boxing who does make you want to watch his fights every time he's come out. And as much as we may want to find something to criticize that may or may not be there, the reality is that only time can tell. So all we can do is sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah, I'll give you my 2 cents. And if you're not too sensitive, you'll be able to sense how much sense I actually make. I'm actually great.